welcome to Marsh Creek Outdoors. This past fall, just prior to the 9-day traditional deer hunting season, my buddy Mundt and I traveled to the Beloit Rifle and Pistol Club. We went there to sight in the guns just prior to deer camp. Now that spring is here, it's the perfect time to grab family and friends and get out to a safe place and get to know your firearms, know what they're capable of. Now let's join Al as he takes us through step by step how to sight in a scoped rifle. In preparation for the 2009 deer camp, I'm here with my good friend and hunting buddy, Al Mundt. We're at the Beloit Rifle and Pistol Club. And Al, before we get started with sighting in, could you please go over any safety concerns or safety measures that the club takes?
Yeah, Bob, when you're coming to the club here, as you see, we got our lever action 30-30 sitting here on the bench. It's facing down range. There's no rounds in it, and all the action. Unless you're ready to start firing and in the seated position and ready to go, all guns remain unloaded and with the actions open and racked. If you're going to be going down range and post targets, which we've already done, we have a beeper and bells here that go off and let people know what's going on, so that they are aware that people are downrange and all guns should be in a rack, all firearms should be open, all the actions open on them. Another thing here is that we're going to be sighting in two guns today. We've got your 30-30 here, and we also have your Thompson Center Contender. They're two different calibers. One's a 30-30, one's a 30-06, and so we don't have any problems. We've identified that these are the 30-30s. We have one type of ammunition on the bench at the time, so we have that. Over on the other bench there, we have the 30-06 rounds. So we keep those separate from our 30-30s that we have here. So we can't get them mixed up. They don't get in the wrong gun, so we don't have any problems that way. Hearing protection should be used here at the range. Just conserve your hearing. General safety rules, only shoot at designated targets. Make sure that the muzzle's pointed safe direction. Basic, no horseplay or any of that type of thing. So, otherwise, it's a very fun environment and a good time to have a good place to have some good fun with shooting.
Okay, Al, on the lines of safety, I also noticed with the racks that you were talking about a little while ago, when that buzzer goes off, it's clear down range. All guns must be placed in that rack so that there's no dangers of.
Right. The last thing you want to see is somebody handling a firearm when you turn around down range. That's something that we do not promote here. All the firearms must be in a rack, actions open, make sure they're in a safe condition, then people can go down range, and no one touches a firearm during that time as long as those bells are going off. And it's also being courteous to the other shooters here. If you want to go down range, you ask permission, you make sure that there's a ceasefire, make sure everybody has ample opportunity to unload, be safe, put their firearms in the rack.
Okay, Al, now that we've gone through the safety aspects and know what to expect there, can you explain to us how you go about sighting in a rifle?
Well, Bob, we're going to start here at the 25 yard range. It's kind of give us a little less problems trying to get it on paper. That's what they call it, pretty much getting it on paper. Now, I believe this firearm has been sighted in last year at about 25 yards, so we should be pretty roughly be able to put it on paper. We'll adjust the sights for elevation and windage as we see fit as we go on paper there. We're going to shoot one round, and then we'll shoot another round, and if they pretty much group pretty close together, we can make our adjustments from that grouping. Hopefully that's what will be the case. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes we have maybe a loose scope or something like that, and our rounds will start to fly. We'll have to do some adjustments on the scope or something like that. Most of if the shooter does his job right, most rounds should group very well, especially at this range, and it shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Okay, great. Let's load her up and see how it is.
Well, bob that's shot high. It's just outside the black, pretty much about 12 o'clock, so that's not too bad. We'll fire one more round and see if it groups right with that. That was about an inch lower. So I think we're doing pretty good on grouping there. So what I think I'm going to do though, because we're going to move down to the 50-yard line and try to sight it in there, I think I'm going to leave this there. We know we're hitting on paper, we're hitting pretty decently. At 25 yards, I'd expect it to hit a little high.
Okay, Al, we've got it sighted in at the 25-yard line. Now we've moved out to the 50. Basically just doing the same thing over again and adjusting when necessary?
Yep, and adjust when necessary. We're going to try to put it at the 50-yard. This is a 30-30, known as kind of a brush gun. It's not a long-range gun by any means. You know, at 50 yards, you can still shoot out to 100 and still be fairly accurate. What I'll probably try to do is get this to shoot about an inch high at 50 yards here, so you'll probably be pretty on at 100. So our last shots at the 25, we were probably about 2.5 inches high. And it was grouping within an inch with the 2 shots that we shot. So, which, you know, 30-30 is known as a tack driver. It's very good for a white-tailed deer. So I think we're doing fairly well here. So I'm going to try shooting a couple more rounds and see where they place down there on that target. Now, as the distance gets out there, you're going to be able to fine-tune it a little bit better than what you would closer up at the 25. It was easier to get it on paper at the 25 there, but you can fine-tune it more at the 50.
All right, let's see where we're at.
All right, now that one shot pretty high. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit. So obviously we got our trajectory going up pretty steep.
And can you explain to us why you're doing that?
Well, what's happening here is we shot a little bit high at the 25, which I'd expect, but we're shooting a lot higher at the 50, so it's at a pretty good trajectory. Line of sight is straight as you go, and the trajectory is basically that arc of the bullet. Because basically, if I dropped the bullet, the same time I shot it, they'd hit the ground at the same time. So you actually have to get an arc for it to stay level out for ways. So that's what this arc is all about. Now, each scope here has an adjustment on the top and on the side. One on the side is for windage, left or right, and on top it's up or down. And usually they are marked off in increments of how many inches they'll be moved at 100 yards. If like a quarter of a minute is what they call it usually. And a quarter of a minute means it'll move it a quarter of an inch at 100 yards. So I believe this is what these are. I just moved it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that should give me about 2 inches down, and I'm about 4 inches high. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there it should give me my 4 inches. I'm going to tap it a little bit just to see if the crosshairs get hung up a little. And we're going to try it now and see how this ends up. I came down about probably about 2 inches. So this is maybe an 1/8 minute of angle. So I may have to move her down another 8 to get to the top of the bullseye there. And I did bring a screwdriver. Just kind of using my nails here. And again, we'll give her another tap here. There I am. I just hit the 10 ring at about, just hit the 10 ring at about 10 o'clock. So I'm down my inch high at 50 right now. I'm going to fire another round here just to make sure that my windage is better, because now at 10 o'clock that means I'm shooting about an inch to the left instead of, I was shooting at right about 12 o'clock, right at the top of the so it may have tracked down a little bit, which means our scope may be canted just a little bit. It's not too big of a deal. Maybe after the hunt we could take it to a gunsmith and have it line it up or so forth. If it's canted a little bit, it'll track funny as you lower it down. So I'm going to shoot another round. If we hit the same spot, I'll adjust it for windage then.